thanks for joining us today for an undergraduate presentation for studying pharmacy at UTAS. We'll start today just on the next slide. Just with an acknowledgement of country, just paying respects to the elders past, present and emerging in our Aboriginal communities, and looking at them with respect and respecting their perspective, culture and language and history, however that brings forth in their studies. Go to the next slide. So today we're going to cover why you might choose to study at the University of Tasmania, why study pharmacy in general, what the career outcomes are for pharmacy, the study options, where to study if you can study online and those types of things, the entry requirements for you, the student support that you'll have while you're studying at UTAS, fees and scholarships, how to apply, and then we'll finish with a Q&A. So while we're having a Q&A, just on the next slide, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen in Zoom. We might answer questions as we go along. Otherwise, I'll save them for the end. If we don't get to your question, we will be answering them in text as they go out with the recording of today's session. So your question will be answered, but we might not have the resources to do it today, whether that's time or manpower. So if we don't get to it, we will at some point. Go to the next slide. So University of Tasmania, a lot of what we do at University of Tasmania is based around healthcare, and looking at our student satisfaction is above average nationally. So it's 82% of students coming out of UTAS are satisfied with their teaching quality as opposed to 80% of nationally. We have strong graduate outcomes. So 82% of our undergraduates come out with full-time employment directly from their degree, with 96% of our postgraduates the same. Student support, whether it's academic help, career guidance, or just someone to talk to, UTAS has heaps of support for students. Just in all walks of life, we're able to give you the support that you need. And we're also the #1 in climate action in the world as a university. UTAS has a big movement towards climate action and where we sit it globally, and a lot of what we teach at UTAS really frames around that. So I'm going to pass you over to Dr. Mackenzie Williams, and she's going to go through a lot of our pharmacy information.
So hello, yes, I'm Mackenzie Williams, and I am a lecturer in pharmacy practice at the University of Tasmania, and I also am a graduate myself. So I attended the Bachelor of Pharmacy at UTAS, and I also did my PhD here as well. So just a little bit, well, it's a little bit hard to answer in this type of webinar, but a lot of people ask me questions about what pharmacists actually do, because most people don't really realise what part we play in the healthcare system. Everybody knows what doctors do. Most people know what nurses do. And paramedicine as well, but pharmacists, not so sure. So the next few slides, I'll just talk a little bit about what pharmacists actually do, because a lot of people, just don't realise the breadth of things that we can actually do with a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree. So basically, pharmacy is the study of medications and how they work in the body, and the effects that it has on on humans, basically. So we play a really important role in healthcare. We work alongside other healthcare professionals. Sometimes that's on a daily basis. Sometimes it's every week. It just depends what area of pharmacy you work in. The pharmacists are really working to improve healthcare outcomes for the patients, and we do that by applying our expertise in the use of medications and knowledge in preventing and managing diseases. We have a supply role as well. So we do supply medicinal products that are good quality, and we provide information to the patient on how to use those medications. And also, we might need to provide information to others in the healthcare system. So whether that's advising doctors on which medication to choose, helping nurses with how to administer a medication. So there's lots of other roles that pharmacists can do as well. Some pharmacists also will end up in research, whether that's developing the medicines, so the very start of the healthcare system, I suppose, or we might do research on how they work in the human body. We may be involved in clinical trials when we've got new medications coming onto the market, or an old medication that we're using for a new reason. So there's clinical trials running, in the country, all about that type of, how we use medications in the body. And also, and this is kind of where my research area sits, it's how people use their medications when they go home. So yes, when somebody's sitting in a clinical trial and they're using a medication, we know exactly how they're using it. Then they go home and it's released on, the general public, and lots of bizarre things will happen with people's medications. So we need to know how patients are using their medications and making sure that they are doing it safely and effectively. So we like to say that we're the medicine experts, and so anywhere that medicines are being used in healthcare, in aged care, lots of different areas, we should be there. Pharmacists should be a part of those particular environments. So this is just a slide showing the different types of careers that a Bachelor of Pharmacy can get you. In general, most people will end up in the community pharmacy sphere. So that is when you walk into a pharmacy, and there'll be a pharmacist up the back. Legally, there always has to be a pharmacist on site in a community pharmacy for them to open. So you can go in and get advice basically free of charge. So, most of our graduates end up in community pharmacy or hospital pharmacy. So that is working within a hospital team. So normally including doctors, nurses, allied health such as physios, and working together to make sure that that person is getting the correct medication for the correct condition. So that might be working out on the wards with the other healthcare professionals. It could be working in clinical trials. It could be dealing with patients when they're going home. So we, talk to them about their medications on discharge from a hospital, for example. There's also positions in government agencies. So the Therapeutic Goods Administration, which regulates all the medications in Australia, or positions within the Department of Health as well. We do have pharmacists in the military, so both the Army and the Air Force have pharmacists in their base hospitals. There's also some non-traditional roles, so dealing with lawyers as a pharmacist, and health economics, those types of things. The next little bubble here, the aged care, that is a big expanding area at the moment. So just in the middle of this year in Australia, we received funding for something called ACOP pharmacists, which are aged care on-site pharmacists. So traditionally, we as pharmacists, consultant pharmacists, would go into an aged care facility and look at the person's medications and, have a team meeting with a doctor and the nurses, for example, and make sure that the person was using medications to the correct in the correct way. Now, that used to be like a once every year type scenario for each person who is in an aged care facility, but now we are actually funded for a pharmacist to be on site, and depending the number of beds that particular aged care facility has, it could be 1 day a week, it could be 5 days a week. So all aged care facilities actually have that option now of having a pharmacist on site. We also have pharmacist positions in GP clinics, so working alongside the GPs, and patients making an appointment with a pharmacist like they do with their GP. We also have some involvement with the Aboriginal Health Services, not so much in Tasmania, but certainly in other states of Australia. There is a big area where they can, where pharmacists can help the Aboriginal population. We also have positions in academia, which is where I sit, and also research. industry, medical writing, and then we have a number of professional organisations such as the Pharmaceutical Society of Australia, where pharmacists can also get positions once they have a Bachelor of Pharmacy. So pharmacy is really flexible. There's opportunities to travel and work overseas. And community pharmacists, they're the ones that, you know, most people tend to know what they do. So we dispense medications, we provide advice, and we also provide advice to doctors and other healthcare professionals. We have a really important role in the community of prevention. So, you know, checking people's blood pressures and making sure that their medication is working and that they're not at risk of other diseases happening because their blood pressure is too high. Vaccinating, so that, you know, people don't end up getting the flu and ending up in hospital and, you know, maybe passing away because the flu is, you know, there's certain populations where getting influenza can be deadly. So there's lots of ways where we help with preventative health care as well. Consultant pharmacists, so that's where the group of pharmacists that are going to be servicing these aged care facilities that I talked about a moment ago. Consultant pharmacists also go into people's homes and talk to them about their medications. So it's a really interesting area. So what patients tell their doctor that they're doing with their medications is often not what the pharmacist finds when they go into somebody's home. So there's, I always like to tell the story that when I was a consultant pharmacist, it was a cream, so it wouldn't have been particularly dangerous if somebody had used it, but it had expired before I was born. So its expiry date was like 30 years out of date. So, you know, a doctor's a consultation with a doctor, their GP, 15 minutes maybe, and they don't get to find out that this person's been hoarding their creams for 30 years. So that's the type of thing that pharmacists can actually figure out when they go into somebody's home. Hospital pharmacist, as I said, most generally they're working within a healthcare team, visiting patients in the hospital and talking to them about their medications on discharge. There is also the clinical trials pharmacists, so they get involved. Down here at the Royal Hobart Hospital, we've got pharmacists involved in the Jack Jumper Clinic. So, you know, people who have anaphylactic, so really bad allergic reactions to jack jumper bites, and there's pharmacists involved in that particular clinic, for example. We also have plenty of outpatient clinics where pharmacists get involved as well. Industrial pharmacists, so that's an avenue if somebody is interested in, you know, manufacturing or working in a laboratory. There is pharmacy positions available in there. And also just thinking outside the square. So a Bachelor of Pharmacy can take you into lots of different positions. I have a colleague who, you know, has worked in pharmacy for 10 years and she now works in the allied health space. So she actually educates, you know, speech pathologists, physiotherapists and other allied health professionals. So her Bachelor of Pharmacy has taken her in a slightly different direction. You know, so there's lots of different options for a Bachelor of Pharmacy. This is just a slide that shows all the different areas that you can specialise in. So you become a registered pharmacist, and most of these are in the hospital environment. So you become a clinical hospital pharmacist, and then you can train and do, you know, additional training to become specialised in particular areas. So just a little bit further information about myself. So I was born in Tassie and I grew up in Hobart, completed year 12 here. I had a gap year, so I took a year off and then I came back and I did start my Bachelor of Pharmacy in 2002. I graduated with a Bachelor of Pharmacy with honours in 2005. I then moved up to Launceston, which is about, for those of you not from Tassie, it's about a 2.5-hour drive from Hobart. And I did my intern year, which I'll talk about a little bit later about that. So I worked in community pharmacy and I continue to do that. And I also have worked as a consultant pharmacist in my career so far as well. I went back and did my PhD at UTAS between 2009 and 2012. And since 2014, I've been a lecturer in pharmacy practice. I also have my areas of research as well, which tends to be in the, patients using the medication, so the quality use of medication space. I'm also the course coordinator for the Bachelor of Pharmacy now, so I oversee all of the units that are in the Bachelor of Pharmacy. As I said, I continue to work within community pharmacy. I also am a board examiner, which, as I said, I'll talk about in a minute, but you do your intern year. So you graduate with your Bachelor of Pharmacy, you do an intern or a training year, and then you have to sit board exams. So I was sitting on the other side of those exams as one of the examiners. I'm also a member of the PSA branch committee here in Tasmania. So that's the Pharmaceutical Society of Australia. And it's one of our professional organisations, and it's one of the largest ones in Australia that helps, promote what pharmacists do and, has all these other options for training if you so desire. I love the flexibility and the variability of being a pharmacist. You never know what's going to walk through the door as a community pharmacist. I love talking to people, and I like helping the community as well. So the Bachelor of Pharmacy here at UTAS is a 3-year fast track degree. So it is Australia's first accredited fast track pharmacy degree. There is now one in Queensland as well, but we were the first ones to do it in 3 years. Generally, the Bachelor of Pharmacy has been 4 years up until this point. UTAS has cutting edge and innovative practical work experience with industry professionals. We're quite a small state here in Tassie, so we know all the other pharmacists that work in Tasmania. So we are able to create placements that are really, really, exciting and beneficial for our students. And because we have such good ties with all of the community pharmacists and, the hospital pharmacies here in Tasmania, we actually provide over 400 hours of professional experience placements. There's really strong employment prospects, so pharmacists are in demand, especially in the community, although hospital pharmacists are also in demand at the moment as well. And 100% of our graduates will actually secure full-time employment within 4 months of graduating. And we have really small class sizes. So as I said, Tasmania, small state. Our practical labs have about 8 students per staff member, and our workshops have about 10 students per staff member. So really small ratios, and you get one-on-one time with your lecturers. So there is placements in every year, starting off small. So year 1, you have 6 hours of placement. So you go and visit a local community pharmacy where you look at the over-the-counter or non-prescription medications. In year 2, you do about 130 hours of placement. That's 2 weeks in community pharmacy, and it's in the same community pharmacy. So you're getting, 10 days, straight, with a weekend in the middle, where you're working in the same place. So you get to know the staff, and you actually start to really learn about community pharmacy on that placement. We also have 1 week in the hospital as well, and 15 hours of clinical rounds. So they're currently set up where the students go in and they do cases in the morning with their dedicated hospital tutors, and then in the afternoon they get to actually talk to somebody, a real patient in the hospital. For year 1 and 2, it's just Tassie usually. But we have lots of different sites. So in general, we try to keep you to your local your local hospital. But with community pharmacy, it could be anywhere. And look, the rural pharmacy placements are normally the most fun. So, if the students that are willing to actually go away for a week or 2 to a rural area, they really see how important a pharmacist is in the community. They're getting all walks of life coming in to the community pharmacy. I did my community pharmacy placement in the old 3rd year down in Dover, and did lots of really, really fun stuff, and it's the placement I remember the most. So I really encourage any student to go on at least one rural placement while they're doing their pharmacy degree. In year 3, that's the big year. So that's the big placement year. Most students spend about 4 months out on placement in the second half of the year. So it's 3 weeks in hospital, It's 3 weeks in community. Then we have 2 weeks elective. Some students elect to do a rural placement during that time. Some go to another different community pharmacy. Some do, some extra curricular activities like going to Ambulance Tasmania or going with a GP, seeing how it works as a GP clinic pharmacist, going to an aged care facility. There's lots of different options for those elective weeks. We also have 1 week of workplace integrated learning. So that is some simulated cases. We have guest lecturers coming in, a couple of different things that happen in that 1 week there. We also have all students going out to an aged care facility and seeing how it works to be a pharmacist in aged care, and also how to do a medication review on a patient who is in an aged care facility. Most students also get to experience alcohol and drug services, and we also have 15 hours of clinical rounds in the final year as well. That's the year where you get to go elsewhere if you want to. So we always ask the students for preferences. So some will preference to stay where they live, whether they've got somebody to care for, or perhaps they're just not able to afford to go on an interstate placement, for example. But if you do have the availability and the means, domestic opportunities are great. So we've got heaps of sites in Northern Territory, so mainly, Alice Springs and Darwin, quite a few in Queensland as well. So Port Douglas, Airlie Beach, Magnetic Island, Labrador. We've also got Geraldton and Bunbury in WA. And then there's always a chance that students can self-organise placements as well, and perhaps, access some funding for that as well. So internationally, we've also got sites in New Zealand, the UK, Canada, so over in Newfoundland. We actually get Canadian students coming to us as well, so that one's a real reciprocal placement. And just this year, we had a student who had some ties in Ireland, and she actually organised part of her placement to be done in Ireland as well. So I guess with international opportunities, it does need to be a healthcare system that is similar to Australia. Otherwise, you're not going to get the benefit that you need to get from your placement experience. But yes, lots of opportunities and different types of placements that you can apply for. I should also mention, because I think it was a pre-webinar question, the school organises this for you. Unless you want to, organise a placement site yourself, there is more than enough sites for all of our students to be placed within Tasmania and Australia. So that is all done for you. So is pharmacy the right degree for you? So we want to see students that are interested in health and biology, and maths and chemistry are important as well. So they are the 2 prerequisites to enter the Bachelor of Pharmacy. But don't be deterred, because some students that aren't, they've obviously got through maths and chemistry, they've done their prerequisites, but they may not have been very good at it, like as in they've passed, but then, it's not their favourite subjects. They might make excellent pharmacists. So one of the key skills that we can't set a prerequisite for is that they need to be able to communicate with people, and they need to be willing to talk to people. So we might sometimes, from time to time, we get students who are very good at communicating, but they're really shy, and they don't have that willingness to actually get out there and talk to people. So you have to be good at communication, but you also have to be willing to communicate with people. So there's 2 main pathways into the Bachelor of Pharmacy. So there is obviously direct entry with your ATAR, or the school's recommendation program, and obviously meeting the prerequisites. You do a Bachelor of Pharmacy for 3 years. You then do a pharmacy internship. Now that is a paid training year. So the hospital or community pharmacy where you are doing your internship does pay you like an employee. After that year of training, you're eligible to sit your final exams. There is 2 exams that you need to sit, a written multiple choice question exam and a oral counselling exam. They're administered through AHPRA, which is the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency. Once you have done your degree, done your 1-year internship, and sat your exams, you are eligible to register as a pharmacist in Australia. That is reciprocal through the whole of Australia. So just because you've done your training in Tassie, you can practice in any of the states of Australia. If you're not quite ready for that pathway, we also have the Diploma of Pharmacy Studies, which is 1 year. It helps you meet the prerequisites to enter the Bachelor of Pharmacy, but it also gives you the skills to study at university as well. And once you're in the Bachelor of Pharmacy, same pathway. So as I mentioned before, the Fast Track Bachelor of Pharmacy has a trimester teaching model. That's how we get you through the degree in 3 years rather than the traditional 4 years. It gets you into the workplace sooner. It gets you earning money sooner. So the Diploma of Pharmacy Studies is available Hobart, Launceston, Cradle Coast, as well as online. It's the stepping stone to get into the Bachelor of Pharmacy, but also, we have had a few students who do the Diploma of Pharmacy and then go, oh, you know what? Pharmacy's not really for me, and that's okay. So it's a way of knowing if being a pharmacist is something that you want to do or not. During the Diploma of Pharmacy Studies, you will do 2 units that are actually part of our first year Bachelor of Pharmacy. So you get credit for those when you come in to the Bachelor of Pharmacy. So there's a mix of units. So 2 from the School of Pharmacy, and there's also the opportunity to meet your prerequisites, so doing maths and chemistry, and there's also some, studying at university type units as well. Domestic students are Commonwealth supported to do the diploma, and unfortunately it's not available for international students. So the entry requirements for the diploma, it doesn't use an ATAR because it's kind of replacing that for some of our students. So you can apply with previous VET or TAFE study or work or life experience as well. So we've had a couple of students who've been pharmacy assistants. They know what pharmacists do, and so they know what to expect, but they haven't had the prerequisites and they haven't studied, for 10 plus years. And so they've come in through the diploma pathway because it gives them the skills to study at university, but also gives them the skills, 2 of the initial units that they're going to do in the Bachelor of Pharmacy as well. So the Bachelor of Pharmacy, available Hobart, Launceston and Burnie, and you can do the whole degree. So you can do all 3 years at any of those locations. We have also had students transfer between the two campuses as well. So somebody moved from Launceston down to Hobart this year, for example, and we've had a couple of other movements around the place as well. So the course has a combination of lab-based practicals, workshops, the placements that I talked about previously, and also some work integrated learning as well. And they start in week 1. So the students turn up and they have on-campus activities from the very first week. The interprofessional learning opportunities that we have at the moment are 2 IPL workshops involving pharmacy students working with medicine and paramedicine students and doing cases together to see where each of those healthcare professionals fit in a particular case, for example. And as of next year, our anatomy and physiology and our pathophysiology units will be taught with the nursing students as well. Okay, so to enter the Bachelor of Pharmacy, we've got an ATAR of 70, and the prerequisites, as I mentioned before, so under the TCE, it is general maths level 3 or above, and also year 12 chemistry. Now, if you haven't met those and you don't need to go in the diploma, you just didn't choose them as a year 11 and 12 student, there is options to do them over summer. and receive a conditional offer to complete maths and chemistry in the summer, and receive a conditional offer to the B Pharm. So completing those prerequisites as summer units before entering the Bachelor of Pharmacy in March. International students also need to meet the English language requirements as well. Next slide. Yeah, lovely. So this is just the current study plan. So it has changed slightly from this year to next year. So as I mentioned, we've got new anatomy and physiology units and pathophysiology units. So they were this year taught under the School of Medicine, different names. We're now going to be taught by the Health Sciences School and in conjunction with nursing students. We've also moved things around a little bit, but in the first year, basically you're doing your basic sciences where you're doing your chemistries, your biologies, and then branching out into biochemistry, which is a combination of the two, and also pharmacology, which is how medicines work in the body. We also have the pharmaceutical science and practice stream, which is where you are learning how to compound medications and put them in creams, solutions, things like that. And why we would choose different dosage forms for a particular patient. You move on to year 2 and sorry.
Sorry, move on.
Oh, that's all right. I'll just do a quick little summary of that. And then you basically bring all those basic sciences together and doing them in a pharmacy lead. So pharmacy skills in practice and therapeutics. So a couple of the frequently asked questions that I get, can you study part-time? The answer is yes, especially in first year. So we have 12.5% units over the year, and we can split them half and half. And I have a plan that a couple of students are already following to do part-time over 2 years. When you get into second year in the Bachelor of Pharmacy, there is a couple of double units, which makes it a little bit hard to do 50-50 splits, but we can definitely work with you to develop a study plan that has a reduced load if that's something that you need to do. When you get into third year, we like you to do it full time, and that's because of the placements. It's such a big part of your final year of the Bachelor of Pharmacy, and you really benefit if you're doing all of the subjects at once and then all of the placements at once. So what do we do with students who want to do pharmacy, but they're not good at maths or chemistry? Well, as I said, they are prerequisites, but we find that some students who perhaps aren't great at maths and chemistry actually make excellent pharmacists. And that tends to be because they're really good at talking to people. And yeah, so they've got high communication skills. They're very skilled at that. And perhaps maths and chemistry, is not their strong point, but they obviously are good enough to get into pharmacy and complete our first year units, and then the rest of it they find much easier. As I mentioned before, if you haven't done TCE maths, general maths level 3 or above, or chemistry, what can we do? Yes, we've got summer units that you could do. So you could get a conditional offer for the B Pharm and then do your summer units and hopefully enter the B Pharm in March next year. And just lastly, so we did have a little bit of a problem with the first time we ran Health Study Period 3 last year. We had a lot of students, it was just too much. It was too long. There was too much content, too much work. And they really, really suffered because they didn't have a good break. So this year, and we haven't done it yet, but it's about to come up. So HSP3 runs from November to February. We've actually redesigned the units and the units that will sit in that health study period so that all students and the staff actually have a 4 to 5 week holiday in the Christmas-January period. So this year we've got no on-campus activities from the 24th of December to the 27th of January next year. The students can obviously work on revising content. There might be some assignments they have to work on, but they do not have to be on campus. And I think this is really important, especially for our international students, because they can go home for a good month before they have to return to do their exams for the end of the period or, return to do their next study period.
No. Great, thanks. That's most of the information for the Bachelor of Pharmacy in general. So if you do have any questions, please start putting them into the chat, and we're coming up towards the end of the webinar. So we'll go to a question Q&A once we've sort of gone through a little bit more information about for now, the support that you'll receive while you're at university. So there's heaps of study support, peer assisted learning study sessions. So study sessions run by second year pharmacy students who have already done the units exist in the degree. So you will receive study support from student advisors, second year pharmacy students who have already done the units, as well as learning workshops, and there's also 24-hour study support available. Once you come towards the end of your degree, you'll also hear a lot about career guidance. For pharmacy, it's very plain and straightforward because you'll be doing all of your placements and all that sort of thing as well, but you have career guidance to help you find the job that you actually will be moving into straight away. As you saw before, the 100% of the pharmacy students that graduate get a job within 4 months. So that's a lot to do with their placements that they do, but also the career guidance coming out of the university straight away. And also, if something's going wrong just in life in general as well, there's heaps of counselling and wellbeing support available. So confidential and professional counselling, it's all free and available in person or online. They can help with academic, mental health, or personal concerns as you're going through. So if you're worried that coming to university might take a bit of a strain on you, there's heaps of professional study support available for you as well coming through. So for now, for costs, a lot of you may be thinking, what's the cost of a degree? How much is it going to cost me overall? Pharmacy degree is roughly $1,100 per unit. All of the units are standardised to Band 2, which is the federal regulation of that. So roughly 24,000. You can either pay that up front by each semester, so that would be roughly 4,000 a semester, or you can defer them onto a HEX help payment. So that would just mean that instead of paying them up front each year or each semester, you would defer that payment to the federal government, and you would start paying it back once you start earning over a certain threshold, and that threshold is 54,000 at the moment. So as well as that, if you're thinking maybe it's living expenses that you might be having trouble with, we just went through a bit of the scholarships that are pharmacy based, but there are heaps of scholarships available to everyone. So if you need to move more than 50 k's away to study at university, you are guaranteed a scholarship. If you need to move, or if you're in a community setting where you're volunteering, there are heaps of scholarships available to everyone. I would highly encourage you to apply for every scholarship that you can. A lot of the scholarships are closing tomorrow at 11:55 p.m. So you've got today and tomorrow to either set up your account or go through and finish those applications that you've hopefully already started. But a lot of them will be closing tomorrow. So please do consider it, or at least go through and apply for them very quickly. You can register in the scholarship portal. If you need any help, then give us a call tomorrow and we'll help you through the process as well. For a lot of you, you've likely already applied. If you've not, that's fine. For now, the process for you is just to apply with us. If you're waiting on your ATAR or any other, like if you're in year 12 still, you'll hear back on the 18th of December. That's when you'll finish year 12. SRP applications are closed, but we're still taking ATAR applications. So that means that you'll hear back as soon as you finish your exams and everything like that, you'll be able to enroll in subjects for 2025. Once you've received your offer, some of you might be in year 12 and received an SRP offer already. Great. There's not anything that you need to do for that except continue with year 12, pass your exams and pass your prerequisite subjects. And then on the 18th of December as well, you'll be able to enroll in your offer. You'll be able to enroll in subjects for 2025. So a lot of you might still be waiting on that. So if you've got your offer or you're expecting your ATAR results, it's the 18th of December that's holding you up, and you'll be able to enroll on that date. If you want to come in on campus, we're having a Know Your Options event. You can come in either to Launceston on the Wednesday the 18th, Hobart Thursday, or Friday on the Cradle Coast campus, and we'll be able to help you through your enrolment and set it all up with you on the day. So please do if that's the circumstance that you need, and we can help you out for the year. So for Q&A, I might just stop sharing so that I can see the Q&A from where it is. We do have a few questions here. I can see that Mackenzie's also replying to some of them here. So
replying to the one about the diploma of pharmacy and whether to study it online I'll just answer it now. So as of next year, we're actually going to be running the diploma students separate to our Bachelor of Pharmacy students for the 2 pharmacy units that we offer in the diploma. So it doesn't matter anymore. I would actually just stay home and do the diploma online and then come to campus when you transfer into the Bachelor of Pharmacy.
Yeah, someone's just asked, do you have to do anything to apply for a CSP? You'll be granted a CSP placement if you're a domestic student. So that is if you're an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, just based on that. And there are some exceptions. They're quite small, the exceptions, but if that's the case, please get in contact with us and meet with us, and we'll go through your personal circumstances to find out if you meet those requirements as well. Scholarships to international students. Yes, there are heaps of scholarships to international students as well. So some of them might be available for both domestic and international students, but there is a page itself for international student scholarships. So please go through. A lot of them will also be closing tomorrow. So please get in contact with us. We'll help you through the process if you need a hand setting up your account or going through and applying for scholarships.
Are you able to talk to the domestic students fee payment options, Ira?
Fee payments. What are the fee payment options for domestic students? So for domestic students, you can either pay upfront based on semester. So each semester you can pay for your classes that you'll be doing that semester, or you can defer your payments onto a helpline. So you can either do partial upfront payments or full upfront payments, or you can defer them once it gets past the census date. They are automatically deferred if you filled out your forms correctly, which is part of the process of doing your enrolment. So when you enroll in your classes, you will either agree to pay them up front or partially, and then once they get to the census date, everything that's not paid for will then be put onto your HEX line. How much does the diploma of the diploma of pharmacy cost? It's roughly the same price, but some units are cheaper. So it's roughly $1,000 per unit, with some units being cheaper at $500. But I don't know the portion of which is 500, which is 1,000. So it's somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000 for the entire thing. Great, that's all the questions. If you do have any, this recording will be sent out. You can reply or reach out to us if you've got any more questions. Other than that, thank you for attending, and please contact us if you have any questions, and we'll hear from you soon. Cheers.